I don't know what happened.
We're back.
We're back.
Whatever happened, we're back.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was quiet. I looked up, I'm like, oh, screen's gone.
I got a message that the meeting ended, but I wasn't even
Fastest meeting
touching
ever.
the screen, you know? So I don't know.
Do you want to set me up
Yeah,
again?
yeah. I just
Oh,
did.
I am. I
Yeah.
see it up there.
There, thank you. Let me switch to gallery view. Why aren't I on the gallery view? Sorry.
That's the gallery.
Yeah, would you push it for me?
You
Hello.
made it, Kate.
Hey,
There we go. Okay, so I have audio.
right at 7:30 p.m.
I'm
Let
gonna
us
mute
know.
audio.
You're not on too?
I can't hear you, Kate.
Can't hear me?
No.
Oh,
I mean, you're just very faint.
all right. If I'm closer to the mic, does that help?
Yep.
Yes?
A little bit.
All right. And maybe I speak a little louder and enunciate a little better. All right. I'm on it. Thanks, y'all. Noting that we have a couple of guests this evening. Welcome, Mary Lou. Welcome, Penny, and someone in the background I can't see.
That's Emily.
Emily, hey, welcome. All right, we're gonna give a couple more minutes just to make sure that everyone has a chance to join. Hey, oh look, wow, there's a whole party over at Penny's house.
We're having a party at my house? A different,
The other Penny.
I
And
got,
so Penny, can you change do you know how to change your name? Actually, I can do it.
oh, why, yeah, I can do, well, I'm in as you right now, right?
Yes,
Did you join as me?
I didn't think that I did, but when we were trying to fix that problem this morning,
Right.
um,
I'm changing your name.
thank you. I will tell you that I did a training a couple of weeks ago and one of my staff made a small technical miscalculation, which meant that everyone who joined the meeting, and there were like 35 people, everyone was named Jake.
oh, no.
So it was hilarious. We just laughed about it and had a good time. One thing that I will note, Melanie, thank you for sending minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes and one of them is 7 pages long. I suspect that we may not all have had time to review them. So we have a decision to make. We could go one of 2 ways. One way that we could go is we could give ourselves, say, between now and 7:40 to review that long minute doc. And if we don't think we have time in the agenda, because we do have a lot to discuss, we could postpone approving that set of minutes for July's meeting. I would love some input from trustees on this before we get started.
I suggest we postpone just because of the length.
Yeah. Is everyone okay with, oh, let's do this the right way. Does anyone have a problem with postponing reviewing the 7-page minute? This is the public meeting minutes until July.
It's fine with me. It did take a long time to read it, but I finished it just before we came on.
Yeah, so I'm hearing no dissent. So we're gonna punt those and we will review the shorter ones, Melanie. So, and thank you for getting this out to us. So we have several guests coming on to join us. So gonna give people a couple more minutes.
For the meeting minutes, for those people who are at Penny's house, can I get their last names?
Yeah, as soon as Penny sits, this is Penny Kim we're talking about. As soon as you settle down, in one place, you can let us know who's on the meeting from your place, okay?
And then Bill Delmas?
Oh, it's actually Stephen Dalmas and Linda Bills.
Oh, got it.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Stephen Dalmas and Linda Bills?
Bills, yes.
Thank you.
Do you want the rest of our names at Penny's?
That'd be awesome.
Yes, please.
Emily Bayard,
How do you spell Dayard?
Bayard, B like boy, A-Y-R-D.
Okay.
Okay.
Gail
Gail.
Flyshaker.
Yep.
And Merrill Mandel.
And then I'm sorry, Steve, I lost. Is your name with a PH or a B?
PH.
And your last name again?
Dalmas, D as in David, A-L-L-M-U-S.
And then is it Jean?
Linda.
Linda, sorry. I don't know where I got Jean
Oh.
from. Linda Bill.
L-I-N-D-A, and it's B-I-L-L-S. Bills.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think we are ready, so we're going to call the meeting of the trustees to order. I'm going to ask everyone, if you are not speaking, please be on mute. And I'm going to ask members of the public, we do have a couple of really important issues before the trustees, or well, one essentially really important issue before the trustees this evening that we're going to spend our time focusing on. If we have time for public questions or input at the end, we will certainly take it, but that's the primary purpose of the meeting this evening, okay? If you do need to speak, I'm going to ask people to either raise their physical hand like this, or even better, to use the reaction button and raise your digital hand, okay? If anyone needs help figuring that out, please give me a shout. All right, so and Tim, I'm so glad to see you. I was glad to see you. I thought that you weren't going to be able to be with us, but it looks like we have the full complement of trustees this evening, and we are ready to rock and roll. So, good evening, everybody. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes from, just going to make sure I have the right ones. May 16th, is that correct? Okay, so we're checking for any edits, alterations, clarifications in the minutes of May 16th.
I didn't see anything I felt needed to be corrected.
Go ahead, Michelle.
On the second page, the second to the last bullet.
We
The second
can't hear
sentence.
anything over at Penny Kim's house. You're all frozen.
Really? Huh.
Oh, that's
Interesting.
very weird. I think it might be Penny Kim's internet connection, because the rest of us are moving and hearing each other
Oh.
okay.
You took off the recording and that's when it messed up. So let's see.
Oh, which reminds me of something I forgot to do before we go further. All right, I'm hoping
Go ahead,
that
say it, Kate.
Penny Kim, and I'm sorry, I just forgot, but I'm supposed to do this before we get rolling and I didn't. So pausing, trustees and friends, to say that this meeting is being held via Zoom, as is permitted under meeting law during the pandemic. The meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available until such time as the minutes are complete and posted. Okay, and I'm sorry, Michelle, I apologize for interrupting you, but
problem.
could you go ahead and make a point about the second bullet, or the last bullet on the second page?
Yeah, so the second to the last bullet on the second page, the sentence is, there will be no early, it says noting. I believe it should be voting. That was it. Otherwise, looked perfect to me.
Do any other trustees catch any typos or anything in the minutes of May 16th? All right, I would love a motion, please, to approve the minutes as edited.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 16th with the one change as noted.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All right, we do a roll call. So I'm going to just go from first Savannah.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. Michelle,
Yes.
Tim,
I'll abstain. I haven't been able to read. I just got home and got
Yeah.
on here without seeing them.
fair enough. No problem, Tim. Brad
Yes.
and Kate, I say yes. So 5 yeses, 1 abs. Oh, sorry, Melanie.
That is us.
Okay, we have 5 yeses and 1 abstention. Thank you very much. Okay, and our next order of business is the discussion that Marianne's going to lead us in sort of next steps for a request to the select board. Is that I'm actually a little bit, we haven't had a chance to discuss this as a body yet. So Marianne, can I just turn it over to you to get us rolling?
Sure.
Please? Thank you.
Sure. So the town of Shutesbury is getting a little bit more than $500,000 in ARPA money. ARPA is American Rescue something or other, Plan Act, maybe. And the select board has asked town departments to make requests and recommendations about their needs for that money. And so the select board has decided to set aside 300,000 of it for the school roof in the event that it's needed. And the select board has decision power on how the ARPA money is spent. The select board has asked for proposals or requests by July 1st, and they're going to start discussing at their July 5th meeting. I would love to think that we could make a request having to do with the library building, but there's still some work to be done at Lot 032. And Becky hasn't had time to get that work rolling. So I had solicited quotes from, I've been talking to DEP about what work needs to be done to close out the 2020 report that the town made after OTO discovered the gasoline there. Do you want to ask a question now, Kate?
No, I just want to give a little bit of context because everyone on the call may not be fully conversant with all of the terms that we're using. And so I just wanted, if it's okay, just take a couple of minutes to say that what we're talking about. When we mention OTO, we're talking about O'Reilly, Talbot, and Oaken, and they are the firm of licensed site professionals that did the most recent assessment of Lot 032 as part of the application process for the small library pilot project. And as we know, they drilled 10 bores, and one of them found volatile organic compounds likely from gasoline. We know that in that same space, there was a gasoline underground tank that was removed, and 100 tons of soil along with it about 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago. And so we're seeing now that there's still a residue at the level required to be reported to DEP. So that has been, and so that's the Department of Environmental Protection, which is a Massachusetts body, and that has been reported. And now what we're figuring out is what we can do to help move the process of further assessment and if necessary remediation forward. Is that
Right.
correct, Mary? I just want to make sure that everybody
Yes.
has equal access to the context. Thanks so much,
Yes.
Marianne.
Yes. So, so what needs to happen next is the town needs to hire a licensed site professional to make a recommendation about the work that needs to be done. And so I have, and then arrange to have, further testing done. So soil testing, groundwater testing around the site. So I've solicited quotes from 3 licensed site professionals, which is sort of standard practice. And I have quotes, I have 3 quotes. They are between $18,000 and $40,500. So I think that what there is for the trustees to do is to just ask me to forward a recommendation to the select board, that the select board set aside, up to $40,500 for continued site investigation at Lot 032. And then, if we don't end up having to spend that much, the ARPA money can then just be spent on other projects. And then I'll work with the select board to hire a firm and expedite the work. So I just feel like since we, so even though it's so far from where the library will be built, this is something that needs to be settled, as soon as we can. So.
Thanks. I saw Brad. So, excuse me a second. Melanie, can I ask you whether you have something that's specific to note taking or whether, okay.
No, I was gonna make a motion.
Okay, all right. So there's a lot, but you can make a motion that we discuss this as Marianne has recommended. I think we need discussion. So if we were like a properly Robert's rules body, we would make a motion before we talk about anything. But we're a little more informal than that. So if you don't mind, we'll just hold and then I'll go to Brad first and then back to you. Go ahead, Brad.
So this issue's come up before. In a number of the discussions I've been part of, what I've heard is that it's far enough from the library that it has no direct impact on our project. However, given that it's on the big site, it's of interest to us. And it makes me feel like it's not our responsibility, but I still want to see it done. And on that score, I very much applaud Marianne. I applaud the work you've done to find solutions to move it forward. And I think that's really important. I feel like right now what we're doing is work for the town in a bigger way than it's work specifically for the library project. It impacts us in a more distant way because it's on the same large property, but it's not. We've not seen any environmental issues that impact the specific site of the library itself, and I'm really happy that Marianne is moving things forward has done some research that will result in moving things forward to answer these questions. And so the town will know what next steps, if any, are needed. So anyway, my applause to Marianne.
Thanks, Brad. I think you're making an important point about what we have responsibility for versus what we can ask others to do. So that's something that we probably are going to want to delve into a little bit more deeply. Melanie, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, just like Brad was saying, I really appreciate all the work that Marianne is doing to move this forward, to expedite this process, to close this out. And I would move that the Library Board of Trustees ask Marianne to put in a proposal to the select board to request, was it $40,500?
I heard
Of
up to.
ARPA funds to, for additional site work.
So I heard up to, is that correct? Okay, just so we have the wording properly down. Excuse me. So we can keep talking about this and properly, that's what we should do. Do I have a second for that motion before we go on? I saw a second from Brad. Thank you,
A second.
Brad. So I do have a couple of questions about this, Marianne. So one question is, you said that there's a pretty wide range in the bids that you've received so far. If I'm doing the arithmetic quickly, like a $22,000 roughly range between the low bid and the high bid. And we, I don't know which bid and probably it's not our call, right? I don't know which bid the select board, I think, would choose. But you did say the funds could be returned and used for other projects. We don't mean library projects in that, right?
Right.
We just mean the general, would go back into the general ARPA pool that all departments are being invited to submit ideas for, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I wouldn't even consider this library. But I would just consider this like we're all townspeople and we do want to build a library on Lot 032. And we want to settle, we want to feel good about it, and we want the town to be able to feel good about it. And so I just want to expedite that, I
Yeah.
just want to, I don't have the responsibility for the whole town over my head like Becky does.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about working with licensed site professionals, and so I feel like I have the ability to get it done, and the energy to get it done, and the interest in getting it done. And it just seems like, that there were, when I got the first quote and I mentioned it to Rita, who's the chairperson of the select board, the first quote was the $40,000 quote. She said that one avenue to funding it would be to ask to use finance committee reserves. And then the email came out about the ARPA funds, and I really thought that the ARPA funds made more sense because it's not our own local tax dollars, and it's a way to just get the project moving without, so it's a real opportunity for the town. So I'm happy to do it.
Sorry, Marianne, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm happy to do it, and to help keep the ball rolling. And some of the differences in the quotes is the $40,000 quote includes things like clearing if they need to clear around the site, and because it's way deep in the woods, and the highway department is likely to do that. And it's not that there isn't a cost in that, but we don't put out cash for that kind of thing. It's not likely that we're going to be hiring someone to, so some of the difference is that, but we'll make sure that we're doing, and I did send one proposal to the DEP to make sure that, that the things that were being proposed were the things that they thought needed to be done. And they did. So when we do choose a firm, it will be with DEP's approval too.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, I join other trustees in appreciation for your help. We are a small town with a small, professional staff, and it's awesome that you're able to help in this way. I do have a couple more questions before, if you don't mind, Michelle and Tim, if I just get mine cleared. So one question I had is, Miriam, when did you begin seeking these bids? Just for the minute.
About a month ago.
Okay. That's what I thought. but I
Maybe
wasn't
3
sure if we
weeks.
had it
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Okay, and then the last question that or it's not really a question, but one thing that I think will be helpful for us to know is whether the remediation would affect the building of the library, right? Whether there would be like, a traffic jam of vehicles trying to get around there or materials being moved in and out. So maybe that's something else that we could, I don't know whether that's not really the LSP's job per se, but it's something that we could, be keeping an eye on perhaps. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I think I saw Michelle next and then Tim. Michelle?
Okay, some of my questions got already were answered, but thank you, Marianne, for thinking about this. I think it really makes really good sense to sort of lay some of these things to rest, and we have more information than we have right now. Did they, when they gave you the quotes, did they outline specifically what kinds of things they would be looking at?
Yes, yeah. So they're gonna do, soil borings in a perimeter around B9. And then some like water well things, a way to test water. So they're monitoring wells. It's I'll go back and see if I can get the language, but they put, Alan Weiss did it. It's to you put a pipe in to get to the groundwater, but the surface groundwater, not the aquifer, and test it. So
Right.
they'll be doing things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If your phone is ringing and you're not on mute, could you please go
It's
on mute?
me. So
Oh, okay, sorry about that, Marianne. Never mind. You got a lot of talking still to do, I'm sure. Tim, you're next, please.
Thank you. I'm not at all against asking for ARPA funds, but anybody, as I understand it, in town can make a recommendation to the select board for use of ARPA funds. I think Becky had asked committees or people to submit suggestions. So I don't really see the need for a library board of trustees to vote on this, because it's something Marianne can do as a citizen to help with town business or make a suggestion. But the actual acts of looking at contracts with these organizations, et cetera, to me comes under the bailiwick of the town administrator, and would have to be approved by the town administrator. I see what Marianne is doing as a act of generosity and kindness and helping out. But I'm not sure that as a group of trustees, we have to approve any of that for her. She's really, I think, as I see it, acting in her role as a citizen.
Yeah, I see that Marianne, I think, has what we call a direct response to that. So if you have another question, keep your hand up, Tim, and we'll get Marianne's direct response and then go back to you if we need to. Okay, thanks.
So I'm doing this as a department head. So any citizen doesn't really have the right to make recommendations and requests about ARPA funds. It would be committees or departments, and who are involved in the business of running the town. And the town administrator is responsible for contracts, but as a department head, I'm also responsible for contracts. So I would be the town administrator's delegate. And so it makes sense. Well, first of all, I know the most about it other than Becky, and we need this settled in order to design a library on Lot 032, because we need to know where we're going to put the septic system and where we're going to put the well, and we need to know We just need to have this question settled. So I am doing this. I would be taking on extra work as the library director. And I do think somebody needs to make this request to the select board. And so it makes sense that the request come from the library. And I would be making it on behalf of the library trustees, but it would just have the library letterhead on it. So.
Thanks, Marianne. Tim, did you have any follow-up or any other questions before we move on?
Just kind of a reminder that my understanding is at this point, none of the minor issue, what by the numbers are minor issues related to this stuff. None of it actually, as I understand it, affects anything anywhere near the library that's being built, and that it is a town issue. And I don't want to create the impression that you can't build a library unless this is solved, because I don't think that's the case. And if I'm not correct, please correct me, but I don't want this, the minutes of this meeting to give the impression that there's an issue that has to be solved before the library can be built, because my understanding was that back part is just a town issue, and when they solve it, fine, but it's not going to stop the library. Am I wrong on that? Or
So what needs to happen at that back site is the back site won't stop the library, but the work still needs to be done. And it needs to be done soon. So that we do know, if they do discover that there's gasoline or VOCs back there that have to be removed, we need to know that before we're putting in a library, so that the town can take appropriate action, before the library is being built. Or we may discover that it's that they can't find another reportable sample of VOCs, or that we may discover that they find VOCs, but it's a very small perimeter and remediation isn't recommended. But since it's behind where the library will be, it needs to be settled. In order for us to move forward. And it can be settled.
Yeah. Brad, I really appreciate the point that Tim's making, I think, about sort of keeping what's our responsibility clear, and like what we're volunteering for versus what we have responsibility over. And I feel like that's important. Before I go to you, Brad, I just want to acknowledge that Rita Farrell's joined us. Welcome, Rita. Thank you for being here. And Brad, it's over to you, please.
Tim, I mostly, before Marianne spoke, I agreed with you very much. I was feeling like it wasn't directly a library issue because it's too far back there. But in spite of that, I felt like it's worth it to us. I would like to add my voice as a vote, as a trustee, to support the whole project, to support the idea of doing this and asking for ARPA funds, because I think it does indirectly help our projects. And for that reason, I think it's worthwhile, and having that support is good too. And then Marianne said something about wanting that answer in order to help cite things on the library part of the property. And that raised the bar a little bit for me. So it made me feel even more that I would be quite happy to vote yes to support this project. At the same time, I agree with you. I feel like this is much more a town issue than a library issue. But it's one that concerns us. And as a concern for us, my positive vote is there.
Thanks, Brad. Tim, you had your hand up and then you took it down. I just want to make sure that you have an opportunity. You're good? Okay, excellent. Thank you. Oh, I meant to write down, you know what? I know what I wanted to say, Marianne, which is that, I don't know that I feel like I need this in order to take this vote this evening, but I would like for trustees to be able, if we're gonna make a recommendation, I would like us to be informed about the scopes of work that we're looking at. And I don't know if other trustees, I don't know if this is just my curiosity or my desire to make sure that I'm as informed as I can be about this, but I would value the opportunity to look at those proposals. If that's appropriate. I don't know whether there's a reason that it might not be.
Can I just second that? That's what I was asking. I didn't say scope of work, but that's what I meant by my question. So I agree with you.
I can send you the proposals. You know, do you want me to send them now?
Whenever you can. I don't think that we're going to have time to look at them. And I don't actually think that this isn't our call, right? What we're asking the select board is for, to consider appropriating up to the amount of the top bid, right? From ARPA funds for this purpose. And it's the select board's decision, as I understand it. And so it's not our call. It's just, if we're making this proposal, I just want to know what the heck I'm talking about. That's all. You know, it's due diligence really is my concern. And like at least a couple of other trustees would value that too. So yeah, okay, I see a couple of yeses. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. All right. Melanie, I'm going to put you on hold for just a sec because Tim, we're still sort of talking about this point that you've raised. And I want to make sure that you're not like talked over. So go ahead.
I appreciate that. I wanted to clarify something. My understanding was that at this point, the next step back there was to contact the Army engineers, whatever they're called, and to talk to them about cleanup. Is these funds that are going for these studies, are these studies that have to be done before the Army Corps of Engineers is contacted, or what am I missing in the sequence of those events?
You want to take that, Mariette? I have some information, but you probably have more complete information.
You can go ahead, Kate, if you, well, all right, I'll take it. So,
Go ahead.
so Becky has communicated with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They reviewed the report, and they reviewed the work that they did when they dismantled the tower and removed. So there was an underground fuel storage tank there that they removed in 1994. In 1995, they tested the soil around it and found VOCs, and they removed 100 tons of contaminated soil and then backfilled it. So based on the work that they already did, and then the VOCs that OTO found in the one soil boring were exactly at level 100, which is exactly the reportable level. And they don't agree that there was that there is an issue back there. So this would be the town kind of doing its due diligence in order to really know whether or not there's an issue back there. But the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers actually suggested retracting the reporting to the DEP. I don't think our town will be satisfied with that. And this is something that the select board will get to decide. But as a townsperson, I feel, and as somebody who's going to be building a library on the site, I would feel better if there was a little bit more testing done back there. And then the testing may confirm the U.S. Army Corps Engineers opinions, or it may give the town the ability to go back to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer and say, look, we did this investigation and we found this. They were very responsive, and I think will continue to be very responsive. But this work needs to be done for the towns, so because the town needs to do its due diligence because something was found there or potentially was found there.
Thank you, Marianne. Melanie, going to you next.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I'm having trouble hearing you, Kate. I don't know if other people are, but
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to
Yeah,
yell.
I'm having trouble.
I'm sorry. Is that better if I really try to raise my voice? Okay.
Yep.
Apologies. Thanks,
you.
Melanie. Melanie, do you have anything out? No, you put your hand down. Okay, well, the last thing that I wanted to say about this is that one way or the other, seems to me it's the federal government's use of this land that we're addressing, right? And ARPA funds are federal funds. So I'm in favor of using federal funds to figure out what the next steps are. Okay, so I feel like we've had, can I just ask trustees, are there any other questions, concerns, or points that we want to raise? Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
I just think that the motion should be really clear about why we're asking this so that anybody that watches this video until it's written up understands why we're asking, that there aren't concerns in the immediate library site. So if someone can articulate all that so it's really clear, that might be helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Oh, this is so hard to do, you know, online. I find it easier to do when I've got paper in my hand, but Melanie, can I give this I'm going to give this a try, and then maybe you can read it back and we can work together to get it clear. Okay, so the Board of Library Trustees requests that the Select Board consider releasing up to $40,500 in ARPA funds for further environmental testing and assessment around 49 on lot 032. Period. The trustees request this as stakeholders rather than, I don't know if we need to say this, but I do want to say this isn't our jurisdiction. We're asking this as a town body that is a stakeholder in lot 032. Can anybody help me out here? Tim,
You're
please.
doing well so far.
I thought your first sentence was perfect. I would maybe make the second sentence something like, the library trustees realize that this is a town issue, but in light of the potential construction of a library, we feel it best to keep things moving on as fast as possible for such reasons as any potential work that's done could interfere with library construction, etc. Something like that.
That's good. The final thing I'd like to say is that I would personally, I heard from multiple trustees expression of appreciation for Marianne volunteering for this. And I would love to include a note in the minute to that, or the motion to that effect.
Don't,
No, no,
just No,
Okay. well,
no.
You just, you know that you get a lot of work done if you don't care who takes the credit. I've noticed that about you, Marianne.
Rita's
Fine.
here. She can hear that
Okay,
people appreciate.
okay.
Okay, so,
So never mind. We can remove that. Melanie, I'm just gonna give you a sec, and then when you're ready, you can just mic on and read back.
Okay, so I have to admit, I missed the last part of what Tim said. So I'm gonna read it. And it's not, the ending of it is not quite right. I apologize, Tim. I couldn't type as fast as I needed to. So what I have is the Board of Library Trustees requests that the Select Board consider releasing up to $40,500 in ARPA funds for further environmental testing and assessment around bore B9 on lot 032. The library trustees realize that this is a town issue, but in light of the potential construction of the library, want to expedite this process so this issue does not interfere with the construction timeline. And I know that's not quite what you said.
Perfect.
It's really good, though. So I see that we have a guest oh, Penny, I saw your hand first, but Brad's a trustee, so I'm gonna go to Brad first. Go ahead, Brad.
I mostly like this. I feel a little hesitant about the timing, about implying that all this work will happen before the library. I think the likely answer is that if the assessment is negative, if the assessment basically agrees with the Army Corps of Engineers, then we're fine. We've covered our bases and nothing more needs to happen. If the assessment is such that there is something of concern and they confirm that, then we have this process the town will have to go through. And I have no idea how long that will take. It could take beyond the construction of the library, and that's beyond our control. It's beyond everybody's control. So I'm hesitant to include that one bit. The rest of it, I think, is fine.
One thing that might help us is if Melanie, I don't know if you can, but if you could share your screen so that we could see that sentence about timing, because I just can't hold it all in my head.
I'm gonna, while she's doing that, I'm gonna concur with Brad. I think he's right, and now I'm kind of backtracking. I think I'd remove that second sentence.
Remove the second sentence and say, this is not it's not our purview, it's not our jurisdiction. Well, we're just asking for the money.
Yeah, but I remove the part about the construction, like Brad said.
Yeah, so end it after lot 032 in the sense that is that the recommendation now? Yes?
I'm reading it.
Oh, okay,
I like
sorry.
part of the ending. Excuse me for jumping in there.
Go ahead.
The library trustees realize that this is a town issue, but in light of the potential construction of the library, we nonetheless would prefer to see the assessment done as quickly as possible. I spoke too fast. No, you're doing great. Wow. I do like that part of.
I agree.
Yeah.
Penny, you've been patient. Do you have something that's directly related to this?
Just a quick question. I've heard several people mention that is it B9 boring, that is the one that's being questioned. How far is that from the area that you're considering for the library site?
It is
900 feet.
900 feet, 900 feet.
So well distant from anywhere that would be a well or a septic system or the building.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I didn't know the distance. Thank you.
Not only that, adding to that, my understanding is the specific compounds found in the first report are kinds of compounds that don't travel long distances.
Good soil, that's correct. That's what we were told.
Yeah.
That's what the licensed site professional told us and the select board. And so those 2 meetings, remember we had back in November, that they considered it extremely unlikely that those VOCs were going to migrate through the soil to the library area. Marianne, I see you. And Penny, if you're done, would you put your hand down just so I keep track? Thanks. Marianne, go ahead.
So Mary Lou put something in the chat. And, since we took Penny's comment, I thought it would be fair if you wanted to take Mary Lou's comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I will read it in a minute. I have to say,
Okay.
we never have the chat functioning at our regular meetings, and I'm not sure why we do today. It's really, so I wasn't watching it. But if I may, so Mary Lou says, thank you for this opportunity to speak here. It is a misappropriation of ARPA funds to request these monies to locate the toxicity in the soils on lot 032. ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, rescuing a library project. Please rescue our elementary school first, a town building that houses our most precious soils. Thank you. So yes, thank you for that comment. We don't have jurisdiction over the school either, but I'm sure that if the school building committee or other town bodies want to request ARPA funds for the school, that they can do that, right? It's just a different conversation, I believe. And so Brad, I see you next.
2 comments. One is we're not at all saying this takes any precedence over the school roof. That's the select board's job, not ours. We have no statement on that. And the other is I keep hearing that, when I've been to finance committee meetings, when I've been to meetings of other town bodies, it keeps sounding to me like there are plans to complete that. It just doesn't feel like an issue from my standpoint. And again, I go back to, that's really, Mary Lou, I think that's a comment you should make to the select board when it's making its decision. We're just talking about our narrow thing, and the select board will look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. That was what I was trying to say, but you said it better than I. Marianne, you're next. Go ahead, please.
One thing, this work at Lot 032 has to be done. And it has to be done. This next phase of testing has to be done by January. The testing. So it has to be done no matter what, whether we're building a library there or not. It's not really about the library. It's really about getting the work done and getting it out of the way of the library if we are building one. But this has been reported to the DEP, and the further testing has to be done anyway.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's why I think that's exactly why Tim and others are making that point about, this is Marianne sort of volunteering her services as a town employee to support, keeping this work moving forward. Brad, oh, you put your hand down. Did you want to make a comment?
I was going to say the same thing. You've covered it.
All right. Well, look at that. All right. So we have a text in front of us. Can I have a motion? Are we ready? Do we have any other edits? Can I have a motion to approve it?
I move.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, awesome. All right, so Melanie, to help me out when I do this vote, could you take it off the screen? I mean, stop screen sharing. Awesome, thank you. All right, as required, we do roll call vote. Tim,
Yes.
Savannah,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Melanie,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and Kate says yes. All right, thank you. And thank you so much, Marianne. Any other business before us this evening? Any questions or comments from our guests? Okay, oh, sorry, I didn't really leave very much time, but let me leave another beat. All right, thank you. I'm again honored to work with the body who takes their charge so very seriously, and to work with Marianne, who steps forward when she can to help out colleagues. Could we set our July meeting, please, friends? We don't always have a July meeting. Sometimes we take a month off, sometimes it's July, sometimes it's August. I feel like we should have a July meeting this week, this month, or this year if we can. We might have some things to talk about. I will myself be out of the country for the latter part of the month, but could do the 11th or the 18th. Oh, you know what? I'm briefing Congress on the 11th. Could we not do it on the 11th? It's going to be a little.
That's the third. That's the third
Monday.
Monday.
18th is.
18th is, yeah,
We do that. Would the 18th be okay with people?
absolutely.
All right, thanks. So we will meet the sorry, I keep forgetting to speak up. The 18th of July at our regular time. You can't do that, Savannah, it doesn't work for you? Okay. You know, I'm fine missing a meeting if, as long as we have a quorum. Could I get a vote for who prefers the 11th? Clearly, Savannah, you would need the 11th. Does anyone else prefer the 11th?
Either one is fine with me.
Okay. Does anyone else? So maybe it's just me and I can skip one, or
What about it? So are you just busy on the Monday? Could we do a Tuesday,
Tuesday the
Like-
12th?
Tuesday the 12th?
Any trustees have a problem with Tuesday the 12th? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting is Tuesday, the 12th of July at 7:30 p.m. Marianne will post and get us a Zoom link as usual. The agenda for sure will include a review of minutes. And you
So
know,
sorry about that.
no.
That long meeting, you know, it was the public meeting.
I know.
I didn't even realize how long those meetings were until you said something.
This is
about,
no
like,
criticism is implied, okay? This has been an amazing effort to keep track of the dozens of meetings that we've had over the last fiscal year, okay? So I think we all owe our secretary a debt of tremendous gratitude, to be perfectly honest. And it's fine if we review those in July, but we'll definitely need to do that. We have a vote tomorrow, y'all. Please don't forget to vote. And, you know, something may come out of that that we need to discuss, who knows? And maybe we'll have had an opportunity to look at least for our own edification, the bids, the proposals that Marianne's going to send us. And so we might want to reserve some time to talk about like any outcomes, any decisions the select board's made, and any other work that we need to do about that. Are there other agenda items? If the vote passes tomorrow, when do we need to connect back up with the MBOC and get further processes moving? maybe we check in on that. Marianne?
Yeah, so that would be a contract that would need to be signed.
Okay.
And that would be the select board actually signing the contract. Um,
Sure.
so it's, and, you know, and I've signed or have processed enough contracts and applications with the MBLC. I know the process.
Right.
But I would let you know, I will let them know the results of the vote as soon as, within an hour of us knowing the results of the vote.
Okay. And then just a reminder that there will be a building committee, which is not the same as the trustees. Okay, there may be trustees who serve on the building committee. There are some among us who are uniquely qualified to do so, in my humble opinion. But that's not us. So one thing that we might want to think about is, what is our role? What kind of support or oversight or diligence do we need to perform? Because I admit I have some learning to do. Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the order before we wrap up this evening? All right, I'm hearing none. Thank you all so very much. Thanks all our guests for coming. Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
We are
Thank
adjourned.
you.